I'm Edie Nathan, Psychotherapy and the Evolution of You. Today we're going to talk about grief. Yes, grief. You know, we all experience it. The big G's and the little G's. The little G's, well, they're not big griefs. They're our daily griefs. They're the grief of expectation, the expectation that's unmet. It's the grief of breaking up with a boyfriend or a girlfriend. It's the grief that we didn't exactly do the job we wanted to do. And we experience regret around that. Sometimes we experience shame around that. And sometimes we eat over it, or we get depressed or anxious. And those little griefs can turn into the senses of anxiety and depression. And then there are the big griefs, the big G's. You know what they are. You can have a big G when you lose someone dear, a child, a big grief, a parent, a spouse, a sibling. Those are big G's. Loss of a job that you've been in for a real long time, that's a big G. Loss of a house or loss of a limb, that's a big G. Getting diagnosed with an illness, that's a big G. And we're all facing those big G's at one point or another. When faced with the big G's or even the little G's, there are times that those experiences feel like we're just overwhelmed with emotion. You know what it's like to feel overwhelmed with emotion? It's like you're flooded. It's like the water from the ocean is coming in and you're just overwhelmed with emotion and you just feel like you're drowning in it. And then there are other times when that tide, it goes out and you feel nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's like numbness. Well, those are two sides of the same line. And the polarity of both, well, they're hard to live with. It's hard to live in the extremes. What's the goal? Living in the middle. Finding the balance in your grief. Finding the grace in your grief. Finding a way to live with your grief with serenity. So today, the first step to learning how to live with grief with grace is by acknowledging what are the big griefs and what are the little griefs. And looking at a calendar and taking note on that calendar for the entire year. What are the anniversaries that note when that big grief or that little grief occurred? Because our minds and our bodies remember. And if you just mark the calendar and you prepare yourself for the experience of that grief, and how does that preparation occur? Make sure you've got plans. Reach out to friends or family, or do something that will make you feel alive in your soul. Maybe it's a walk, maybe it's exercise, maybe it's a good bowling game, I don't know, but you do. Because this is about finding a way to live with your grief with grace.